so today we're talking about the 3D embossing folders. I've got a 3D Impresslits. I'll show you what that's all about. I have a 3D texture fades that is an embossing folder. And just to show you the difference very quickly, this is a regular embossing folder. They all are hinged on top, like so. And you've got an embossing side and a debossing side. So let's take a look here at the 3D. You can see there is quite a bit of difference in how thick these are. So the 3D is going to make a very deep impression on your paper. Super deep. Embossing folders, regular. We'll talk about the Impresslits in just a little bit. Let's move forward with this 3D Typewriter embossing folder by Sizzix. So here's the thing. Sometimes you forget which sandwich to use. So if you will keep your packaging that comes with your 3D folder, Sizzix is very good about putting directions inside the packaging. It will show you your cutting pads, what kind of platform you need, where the embossing folder goes, and how it works in various machines. So keep this handy, just as a reminder in case you don't use 3D folders all that much. Talk about the machine. This is a Sizzix Big Shot. It uses pressure to roll through your folders or die cuts. Right, so let's talk about the platforms. This is the normal platform that goes in your Big Shot. And this is a magnetic one, but it also comes with a regular platform. This will not work with the 3D folders or regular embossing folders. You need to have an extended multi-purpose platform like this. And you can see this has a little rule of thumb on here for you as well. This is for cutting thinlits and wafer thin dies, and framelits, regular die cutting. What you want to do is go over to tab 1, and I've made myself a little note. This is just for me because this is an older platform and it didn't include anything about 3D embossing. So I've made a note here for myself. This is the tab that you will want to use for 3D embossing folders. So you'll just put this in your Sizzix Big Shot. You're going to take your 3D embossing folder, add some paper and one of the clear plates and run this through. Let me show you how that's done. All right, so this folder is roughly, well, the main parts are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, a little more than 5 1/2. So just going to take a little piece of cardstock here and place this inside my 3D folder. You can kind of line it up by pushing it all the way up into this hinge. Then you're going to lay this on your, remember this is tab 1, and just use one plate over the top and run that through your die cutting machine. If you have too much resistance, don't force it, because it will spring and break your machine. So here we go. Let's see what we've got here. Can you see how deeply this is embossed? Oh, it's lovely. Love the 3D. Look at that. I mean, you get all kinds of texture in this 3D embossing. And that's how you would use a regular 3D embossing folder. Okay, another tip to keep in mind is when you're using a 3D embossing folder like these, sometimes you may want to mist your paper just slightly to wet it before running it through, because as you can see, can you see these little light holes through here? It didn't tear the paper, but sometimes it presses so hard that it'll leave a little bit of a tear in your finished product. Now you can't see that from here, only when I hold it up to the light. So because it is such a deep impression, you may want to take a little mister like this. This is a mini mister and it's just got water in it. Just do like this, slightly wet your paper. Doesn't have to be real wet. a little mist here and there. You can see this quite a bit on here. But while it's still wet, you want to run that through. And it helps protect your paper. It helps protect your paper by making it just a little more pliable. So the water makes the paper just a little more resistant to that. Well, not resistant, but pliable for running through. And now you can see we don't have any of those little tears in our paper. So that's just a little tip, is to add a spritz of water before using any of your 3D folders. All right, hope that's helpful for you. Next, I'll move on and show you how we're going to use the Impresslit. This actually will do 3D embossing and includes a die to cut out the embossed image. That is called a 3D Impresslit. So let's move on to that. Again, with the 3D Impresslits, if you keep the paperwork that comes with your folder, it will show you the sandwich and what you need to do in order to achieve this. Again, it shows to use tab 1. So we'll do that. I'm going to take another piece of this cardstock. You can see there are 2 leaf impressions that we're going to get from one pass through our machine. Again, this goes right here with 1 plate over the top. Let's get that in there and run it through. Okay, now you can see the detail in this 3D image. I mean, this has the veining and everything of a real leaf. Can you see that? And you see that not only did it emboss, but it also cut out the images. So from one pass with an Impresslit, you get these 2. All right, so that's how you use a 3D embossing folder and the 3D Impresslits with a Big Shot, Sizzix Big Shot machine and tab 1 on your extended platform. Hope you found this helpful. Please give me a thumbs up. Feel free to comment and come back and visit me again next week for craft tool time. Happy crafting, everyone.